that you have. So thank you once again. I'm going to pass over now to Dr. Abraham, who has a vast experience being a doctor, obviously, and she being all that she does, to explain to us exactly what we are to expect if we're going through menopause ourselves, and people around us, and the people who are affected by us. So without any further ado, Dr. Abraham, please have the floor, as it were.
Start my video. Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, Trudy, for nudging me in the right direction. I really want to thank Trudy, first of all. Trudy is my sister. She's my spiritual daughter. She's my confidant. We've been to so many countries together, haven't we, for the sake of the gospel? Trudy is a soldier, both spiritually and otherwise. She is always wearing her boots, and she is really a mighty woman of God. And not just a mighty woman of God, she's also, she has so many other things that she does, so many companies she runs, and she goes where I think angels fear to tread, to be frank. That is how bold this woman is. Together with her husband, Felix, we have become very close, and we're both, our families are very firm supporters of one another. Thank you so much, Trudy. Trudy came to me and said, look, I have this issue with some of my friends and all that. And, normally I would hesitate and say no and all that, because, to be frank, I'm a little bit of a shy person, though it doesn't always appear like that. But once she said it, I just said yes, because I knew that, look, this is one of the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to have to give out health information and give it out freely. Out of the abundance of what God has given me, I give freely to people. So this is why I just thought this menopause presentation, Trudy, is a wonderful idea. Many women are suffering out there. And if there's just a little thing we can do just to make life better for women of a certain age, why not? If there's one thing you can get out of everything I say today, I will go to bed very happy. So welcome to everyone. It's really lovely to see you. British time changed. It happens twice a year, and it happened to happen today. And so lots of people were caught out, but I'm happy to see all of you, even at this time. So thank you so much. It's going to be a slightly interactive it's not consultation. It's going to be a slightly interactive conversation we're going to have. And I think it's going to be really interesting. A little bit about myself. I am a consultant primary care physician or consultant public care physician. My initial first degree was in College of Medicine, University of Lagos. Then I went to do my postgraduate in England, and got the membership of the Royal College of General Practitioners. So I'm also a UK GP, which I do when I go to UK. I do some UK telemedicine wherever I am in the world, which is quite interesting because at that stage, most of my colleagues are they are 25-year-olds, so it's really great, interacting, so some 30, interacting with the young ones, even on that on those type of platforms. I'm also I used to lecture at the University of London, and I was an academic research fellow. Right now, what I do is that apart from all the UK work I do and some of the Nigerian work I do, I co-pastor a church in Lagos called Abraham's Tent Ministries, where it is basically is a poverty alleviation ministry. Some of you are, massive supporters of that ministry, and we actually help the disenfranchised, and we help, the people. We just try and empower people and make them better versions of themselves by the grace of God. So it's just incredible what happens there. So thank you all for coming. I hope you can see the screen. I'm going to try. And I just want to thank my husband, Pastor Charles Abraham, who in a sense, Pastor Charles Abraham is my greatest, I don't know what to say, he's just my greatest supporter. He just encourages me at all times. He brings me out of my shell. he just makes me, who I am, and he really completes me. I just love him very much, and I just really want to thank God for his life. I woke him up. Can you imagine? He had preached hard for 3 hours this morning, and I woke him up, and he got up and came to be my teacher. So he's my technical director today. So if you see me looking right, or left, you know that he's the one I'm sort of like trying to, to speak to, because right now I'm not even sure how I'm looking. I don't know how this screen is looking. Am I sharing? Am I sharing yet? I'm sharing. So I'm going to share. And so this, I just love this picture. It talks about menopause. Yes, I also want to thank those who are on YouTube right now. Sorry? No, yeah. I just want to thank those who are on YouTube right now. And this is going to be there, forever, because there are going to be lots of things we're going to talk about. I'm going to start talking very fast because I need to redeem the time. So that is menopause. That is a lovely picture of menopause. And I think perhaps that is where the loveliness ends. And we're going to now start digging into the real matter of menopause. I want us to do a little biology lesson at this moment right now. I think you can see it. I want us to do a little biology lesson. I think all of you can at this point see what I am seeing. This is the female reproductive tract. And if you look somewhere on your left or your right, you can see something called the ovary. The ovary is a little round organ in the female reproductive tract, which contains the eggs and the follicles that are responsible for reproduction and having children. So the eggs or follicles leave the ovary and they go through the fallopian tube and they lodge somewhere around the edge of the womb. You can see the uterus, which is also the womb. And as when the sperm moves up the vagina, they meet somewhere in the uterus, and that's where conception happens and fertilization and all the other things. So I just wanted you to sort of like have a picture, because everything we're going to talk about is sort of like focused on this little organ, which I think is probably around the size of a grape, maybe even a little bit smaller. It is all around the ovary. So what exactly is in the ovary? What exactly is in the ovary? The ovary contains eggs. Just want to check. Is it? Oh, it's clear. Great. The ovary contains eggs, follicles, which are released once a month. What is inside the eggs or follicles? It is estrogen. Now, estrogen is the hormone that makes sure, it is the reproductive organ that makes sure that people have children. It is the one that maintains the integrity of the ovary, of the egg, that maintains the integrity of the ovary, and that maintains the integrity. Even when a lady is pregnant, it does so many things. And this estrogen, its main function, is that it's a naturally occurring hormone. It's key to our sexual and reproductive development. It actually supports the health of the heart. It supports anti-cancer properties. It supports the blood vessels. It supports bone strength, and it supports brain protection and mood regulation. That is what estrogen does with us. Estrogen is a beautiful hormone. Can you even imagine that because of estrogen, women are protected from heart problems until they get to the menopause, because estrogen is what is called cardioprotective. Now, when I'm feeling American, I spell it E-S-T-R-O-G-E-N. When I'm feeling British, I spell it O-E-S-T-R-O-G-E-N. It's the same thing. Estrogen, the estrogen is all the same thing. And so that menopause is a decline in estrogen. That's all it is. It's actually a decline in estrogen. And the Greek word for menopause is pause. It's, Greek meno and then pause. Greek meno is month and pause is cessation. The menopause is the time in your life when your ovaries stop working to make an egg each month. The menopause occurs when the supply of responsive eggs is exhausted. All women are born with at least 1.5 million eggs. That is it. That once you are born, you have 1.5 million eggs to use as you wish during your life. 1/3 of these eggs are already lost by menarche. Menarche is when you have your periods. 1/3 of these eggs are lost, and the remainder are lost during reproductive life. So that is, menopause means cessation of the menstrual periods, and it is due to a decline in estrogen and, of course, progesterone by the ovaries. Now, a lot of people talk about menopause, but menopause is a time, it's a length of time. It's not just one time. But the final menstrual period, count 1 year after the final menstrual period, and it is 51 years. And that is menopause. So assuming a person's last menstrual period was January 1, 2020, after 1 year, once they haven't had a menstrual period, they are termed menopausal. The average age of menopause is 51 years. And I'm going to give you a fun fact. Women tend to have about the same age of menopause as their mothers. So if you want to know when you're going to have menopause, ask your mom. Now, look at this very interesting picture that we have here. In this picture, the white bit, you can see many women in this picture. The white bit is the estrogen level. And the red bit is, there's no, the red bit is no estrogen. So you can see where, how the estrogen level increases and decreases as time goes on. And by the age of 50, look at where it is, and then it starts to go down and go down. And by the time a person is 80, they hardly have estrogen in their life anymore. I'm going to move on. What are the stages of menopause? So there's something called the premenopause. That is the one on the left. So the premenopause is when you start to find out that your periods, what really happens at that time is that the woman finds out that her periods are irregular, and then she panics and she goes to the doctor and she says, "Oh, doctor, what's going on? Do I have cancer? Do I have this, that, the other?" And they start thinking of all sorts of things. This usually happens around the time the person is probably about 40 years old. 40, 43, 45, there's a wide range. So the transition phase before menopause is often referred to as premenopause. It could go on for at least about 5 years. During this transition time, before menopause, the supply of mature eggs in a woman's ovaries, it starts to diminish, and ovulation becomes very irregular. At the same time, the production of estrogen and progesterone starts to decrease. It is the big drop in estrogen levels that cause most of the symptoms of menopause. So like I said, menopause is 1 year after your last menstrual period, and then you have post-menopause, which is another level entirely. Another really, really interesting level entirely. So we have the premenopause, and then we have the menopause. You can see this picture with the thunder and lightning and all sorts of things around you, because at that time you really do feel very thunderous, and then you have the post-menopause. I just want to say that people are a little bit more at risk of the menopause if they have a low or a high BMI, that is very, very overweight or very, very underweight. There are some people who are more at risk if they have a certain race, especially the Caucasian race. They really have serious problems with menopause, a lot of times with the Caucasian race. Other risk factors are lifestyle, caffeine, alcohol, smoking, and certain types of medication which can actually induce menopause. So what are the types of menopause? Premature menopause there is natural menopause, which is the one I've spoken about. Most women have it from the age of 45 to the age of 55. For some people, it is 5 years. For some people, it is 10 years, that type of thing. Nobody ever knows, what's going to happen to them. So we have the natural menopause, but we have what is called the induced menopause, which is premature menopause, which may happen when there's a failure of the ovaries. It can even happen before the age of 40. It might be associated with certain types of medication a person takes, with smoking, with radiation, with exposure, with chemotherapeutic drugs, and stuff like that. Some people, when they have surgery, they induce a natural state of menopause. So, an artificial state of menopause when they have surgery. And that is really shocking, because one day you have lots of estrogen and the next day you have no estrogen. It is shocking for the person's system, but there's treatment that they give them. So look at this picture, menstruation. In fact, let me start from menarche. Menarche is when you start your period. It's called menarche. Then you have menstruation. Then you have menopause. Then you have mental breakdown. See, most of women's problems begin with men. Yes or no? Please write in the chat. Is that yes or is that no? I'd like to see your full response to that. You can just say yes or no in the chat. I know Pastor Charles will help me moderate that. Many yeses. Oh, wow. All right. So I'm going to say a big no to that. It is no, no, no. The problem is not men. The problem is the hormones. I tell you, it's not the men. Yeah, I thought this was really a very, very interesting one. I don't know whether you know that story when we were younger, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And we have the Seven Dwarfs of menopause. So menopausal symptoms are thought to affect 2/3 of the women of the world. So there are 1/3 of fortunate women who don't have menopausal symptoms. Isn't that amazing for these blessed women? Around 10 to 20% of women, they describe their symptoms as distressing. Unfortunately, the duration and the severity of these symptoms vary and they can't be predicted. So you have the itchy, bitchy, sweaty, sleepy, bloated, forgetful, and psycho. Some people actually sometimes feel that way. And that's why we titled it, Doctor, Am I Going Mad? And so these are some of the symptoms. So let's just start with symptoms of menopause. 85% of women have what is called hot flushes, hot flashes, and this one says, I know it's not funny, and I've been through it myself. So it's actually not funny when it's happening, but 85% of menopause sufferers will have something called hot flushes, or the Americans call it hot flashes. And so these are sudden, brief, periodic increases in the body temperature. It just spikes, and they start before a woman's last period. For 80% of these women, the flashes could occur for 2 years or less. And some women actually experience the hot flushes for more than 2 years. These flushes seem to be directly related to decreasing levels of estrogen. I think at some stage, what happens is that the estrogen just dips, and then once it just dips like that, those nasty flushes, just come up. They're horrible. My friend told me she had the flushes in the plane at night one day. The hostesses thought she was mad. They thought she was having a cardiac arrest because it was really serious, and they had to start resuscitating her until she had to tell them that, look, this is not a cardiac arrest, it's just a hot flush. And so, like I said, it varies in intensity for women. So in addition to the increase in the temperature, what then happens is that the hormones in the body, the hypothalamus, the regulatory system, fight to cool the body, and they overwork, and then you get sweaty suddenly and cold. One of my friends told me that her husband has to go to bed with his long johns and his winter coat, because it is deep winter and she's opening the doors. If you're in England, you get what I'm saying. In the deep winter of January, for you to be opening the windows, that is a really serious condition. So suddenly, after this hot flush, then you start to sweat and then you feel cold. It is nasty. And then, like as if that's not bad enough, a lot of women have palpitations. So in response to these flushes, start having palpitations, dizziness, perspiration. And you know, the hot flushes that happen at night, they're called night sweats. And nobody 100% knows what is happening. Why these hot flushes? But most researchers say it is because of the sudden drop of estrogen that this type of thing happens. The second symptom is the vaginal dryness. You know, the reduced secretions. Oh, sorry, I have to. You might have to help me. Okay, it's working now. Sorry about that. Yeah, so with regard to the vaginal dryness, reduced vaginal secretions and thinning of the mucous membranes lining the vagina, causing itching and painful intercourse. So you just need, it is bad. It is really bad when it happens because the woman, imagine not knowing what is happening, you know, and you wonder, you're at a board meeting and you just start feeling itchy down there. What will you do? What do you do? Again, this is declining estrogen levels. The vagina just becomes less acid. It becomes shorter, narrower, and inelastic. And the skin becomes brittle and thin and vulnerable to infection. A lot of times, women in menopause, you know, they have all sorts of infections. Some women, not all. Like I say, the most common symptom of menopause is 85% of people have hot flushes. And then some percentage have this vaginal dryness. Some of them have sexual issues. Declining libido has since long been considered a companion of menopause and postmenopause. It is true. It is, I'm not even going to ask you, it is actually true. You know, this is one of the symptoms, the causes of marital discord a lot of times. And this is actually because of the menopause and the fact that, you know, the estrogen level just goes down. Don't you sometimes wish this happened to men? How many of us have been at a concert or at a church service and the service ends and the women rush to the toilet and you see the men's toilet is empty? And most of the women who rush to the toilet are the women who are at a certain age group. Have you noticed that? If you have, please say yes. You know, and you are tempted to sort of like, okay, let me confess. There was a day I looked left and I looked right, and there was nobody in the men's toilet, or so I thought. And the women's toilet was really, and then I was bursting and I ran to the men's toilet and I saw a man there. And so I ran back. You know, so how many of us have had that type of thing, you know, where, you know, you just feel you're just bursting? It is because of the pelvic muscles. During menopause, the pelvic muscles relax. And sometimes, look, let's say it as it is, you know, some women wet themselves because the pelvic muscles, that is whether you have even had children or not, that's not the issue. The issue is that the pelvic muscles are relaxing just because you're around this time of the menopause. Sometimes with women wet themselves, sometimes they don't even know they're wetting themselves, you know, and there's a risk of, like I said, urine infection. And to make matters worse, a few women actually have what is called prolapse. So one day they're sleeping and they just feel a big bulge, you know, the uterus has collapsed and is actually sitting in the vagina. Do not fear. There's treatment for it, you know, but it's actually gross. And you just think, what has happened to me? Am I going mad? What's happening? You know, what exactly is happening to me? Other symptoms. My skin cracks at the slightest pressure. I like this. Again, please say yes or no if this happens to you. Even when I look at food, I gain weight in my midriff. When I just inhale food, I gain weight. Please comment. I need your comments. You know, menopausal women, you know, I'm also there. You know, I'm on that group too. So we identify. If that is if it happens, please let me know. What about this? Today, women take the advent of menopause in their stride and openly discuss their feelings. Is that correct? I think so. It is because somebody opened up their feelings to Trudy that we're here today. I just think that is great. And I do have information for you that will change your life. Honestly, I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm just saying it as it is. There is some information out there that is great information. And so thank you, Trudy, for this. And thank you, ladies, for opening up and discussing, some of these issues with Trudy. So you tend to lose. Why do we have this dry skin? I mean, sometimes I lather, I have this incredible cream, shea butter that I make, and my skin is so dry. I have to lather it, lather layers, before the skin, sort of like looks okay, and with blacks, it's even okay because we still have tougher skin. With the Caucasians and other races, their skin cracks. They actually sometimes have, little bits of abrasions in their skin because their skin is so dry. Can you see the vein sometimes of some women? It shows, through their skin. It is just really tough. And why does that happen? It's because of the collagen. The collagen, which helps with the skin integrity, actually it gets lost after the menopause, and the skin becomes drier and more likely to itch. So sometimes the women with that's another thing, itchy skin. Some of it has to do with the collagen. So I want to deal with mental health because
sorry, we've just lost Dr. Abraham for a little while, but she will be with us very, very, very shortly. I am sure that you will all find this really, really interesting. I certainly am. So just hang in there. She will be back. In the meantime, whilst we're waiting for her to come back, does anybody have any questions that they want to just, put now that I can kind of make a note of for later on? Or is everybody okay so far? You can unmute or you can send it through the chat. Yeah.
What's the best treatment for this? I refuse HRT myself.
Okay, so you want to talk about HRT, best treatment. Okay, and others have put in the chat that they can't sleep, insomnia. Okay. Well, I'm writing all this down because when Dr. Abraham comes back, at some point we are.
Hello, sorry about that.
No problem.
I had a little bit of a technical problem, so I'm going to continue. Oh, thank you, Trudy. Did you want to? Are you moderating something?
No. I was just letting people know that you were going to join shortly because you had a little bit of a problem. So I was just taking some questions while we were waiting. So that's fine. I'll let you know the questions later when you're finished.
All right, thank you. So whilst I'm trying to switch on the screen, how do I get back into? Sorry, 1 second. I need to just get back into Zoom. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about mental health right now, because I think that is really where we have a lot of issues in menopause. Sorry about that break. With mental health, again, it has to do with the declining estrogen and the fluctuations of estrogen. It has to do with the declining estrogen. And you see, what happens is that estrogen, maybe at night, is high, and then suddenly it just falls. And then it goes up and it falls. This is what happens. Oh, okay, fine. All right.
Apologies. Still having some issues there. like I said, we hoping it will be resolved very, very shortly.
Talking about mental health and the fact that there's such a massive swing, you know, up and down, up and down, up and down, that people become very irritable. So there's the irritability part of it. They become angry, they become depressed, you know, they become tearful. Thank you. Thanks. You know, confused. And there's this big thing now called brain fog. I wish I could give you, there was this incredible viral video that was trending a few, it was trending a few months ago. And there was just this woman and they were talking about, she was looking for her keys and her keys were exactly, I think in her mouth or somewhere in her, you know, just next to her, and she completely forgot. I don't know whether this happens to you. You know, you just, I'm talking of the menopausal ladies now, you go into a room with a thought that you're going to get something, and you get to the room and you forget exactly what you came to get. I mean, that is a, you know, that does happen, you know, and it can be distressing. So I'm just going to move on very quickly now. Increased facial hair and thinning of the scalp hair. So how is it that you are growing hair in some places and then your hair is thinning? So it just doesn't seem correct. Again, what happens with this? And let me just explain what that is to you. Estrogen, which in a sense has more androgens. Androgens are the male hormones, so it has more androgens. And androgens just automatically start to do what they do: increase hair, you know, male pattern. Some people have male pattern balding, hair growth, they have a mustache, they have a little bit of a beard, and then they start to grow, have a pot belly and stuff like that. You know, that again is another symptom of menopause. So basically, all those are fine, you know, in terms of there's nothing terribly, they're horrible, you know, symptoms, but they're not going to cause harm. But now I want to talk about 4 things that I think we need to really look at very, very carefully. And I'm talking of the post-menopause now, post-menopause. Remember what I was telling you, and we have to take these 4 things very seriously. I was telling you that most women are protected from heart disease until they are menopausal because estrogen has a protective effect. When they become menopausal, they develop the same risk as a man. I do think about it very, very deeply. How many women, young women, have you heard of who had a heart attack? How many young men have you heard of who had a heart attack? Much more men. But when a woman gets to the age of 50 or around the time of her menopause, the risk is the same. And at that time, women develop heart disease. What of osteoporosis? That is also another thing. As a person grows older, they start to lose bone tissue. Starting from every woman from the age of 40 loses 1% to 1% of her bone tissue, which causes what is called osteoporosis, which is thinning of the brain, thinning of the bones. Now, what estrogen does is that it helps to build the bones. So think about it. Estrogen is now depleting. It's getting lower and lower. Now, we're not talking of the menopause again. We're saying post-menopause, what is happening? It is osteoporosis. Now, the other thing about estrogen is that estrogen was protective in some forms of cancer, and now estrogen is no longer available. The next thing is dementia. Estrogen was protective when it came to the health of the brain, and now it's no longer available. And you find, you know, women who are menopausal starting to develop these risks and sometimes even these diseases. What do we do about it? So let's move on quickly. I'm now quickly moving on to managing of the menopause. So some of the questions that you have, you know, written might be answered with some of the things that I'm going to say now. Now, coping with hot flushes. I'm going to talk about this very briefly. Lots of this is common sense. Your dressing, it's got to be very, very light. when you go out, please dress in layers so that you don't go and undress on the streets. Please just make sure that you have layers so that you just, when the flushes start, you just start to peel them off instead of just, removing everything and people wondering, is this woman okay? Another thing is that foods and beverages cause hot flushes. These are spicy foods, alcohol, coffee, tea, and other hot beverages. Please make sure you avoid this when you're having the flushes. Please keep a glass of cold water or fruit juice when the flush starts so that you'll be able to quickly cool yourself down. Another one is reducing your stress level. Have you noticed that when you get angry, you just get one flash straight away, or you get emotional and all that? So make sure that you keep your mood at an even keel. So, clothing, lingerie and stuff like that, everything has to be light and easy around you. This is not the time to start dressing tight, all those tight clothes we used to wear when we were in our 20s and 30s. I've actually seen some ladies who just cut their hair in frustration. The heat is so much, they just shave the whole thing off because they say, please, I just need some air on my head. All sorts of things happen during, around this time. Another thing is keep a diary so that you know when the flash is going to come. And the reason why you know when the flash is going to come is because you've kept a diary. A diary is a very, very good thing. And lastly, have your double fan. I just love this fan. You just put it on your neck, and when you start to feel hot, you just switch it on and you have two fans blowing you. Honestly, it could mean the difference between life and death, I tell you. It is really, really a lifesaver, this double fan. Make it a double fan. Those single ones, they don't necessarily very much work. All right, moving on quickly. Lifestyle changes. Basically, I think most of us know what it is. You basically move towards the fruits and the veg, but there are some foods that are basically rich in estrogen, like the apples, cherries, plums, beets, carrots, cucumbers. That's everywhere. There's one seed that they claim is a super seed, which is the flax seed. They say that is incredible it's a food that is rich in estrogen. Sunflower seeds, clover, parsley, chickpeas. So move away from saturated fatty acid type foods, fried foods and all that, and just move towards simpler, lighter foods. Take lots of salads, garlic, parsley, carrots, and stuff like that. Now, there's this phytoestrogens, which some studies have shown that women who took phytoestrogen supplements and food experienced less hot flushes, much less than those who didn't. Now, this research is still in the infantile stage, so I'm not going to sort of like run away with this and say this is the solution to menopause, but it is something to try because these are good foods anyway. I mean, everybody needs to, whether you are menopausal or not. These are the type of things we need to be looking at now. A little bit of soy milk, that too is still a little bit controversial because they say soy causes all the other things, but soy is supposed to be rich in phytoestrogens, cashews, whole grains, rye, oats, wheat, spelt, and then the fruits, apricot, pears, grapes, kiwi, and then basically vegetables, bell pepper, green pepper, carrot, zucchini, green veg. In Nigeria, we have lots of all this green veg, ugu, veg, that one they call greens. Start to steam those, not fry them, not soak them in oil, because oil is not great for, hard oils are not great for the menopause. So steam them, boil them, anything you're going to do. Now, if you are very into high level of sophistication, you could also look at things like tofu, edamame beans. I mean, one little bean, which is just this size, is probably about 4 pounds. So but yeah, they're good also. But yeah, I think any type of beans is fine. Then the other ones, tempeh, miso, flax seeds, yogurt. So stuff like that. So look at that. Basically, it's just a lifestyle that we're now talking about. Let's look at the vitamins. Go take a good multivitamin. Go and find, do the research and get a good one, a very, very good multivitamin that has minerals and all those other wonderful things, and take one a day. But what I want to tell us today is, which is critical with regards to vitamins, is that from the age of 40, every woman must take calcium and vitamin D. Remember what I said about bones. Women start to, not men, women start to lose bone density from the age of 40. And so really, we GPs really need to be properly educating our patients and telling them that calcium and vitamin D is critical so that you don't develop osteoporosis. You know, the women with this dowager's hump, that they're bent over like that, that is osteoporosis. When you see women who are bent over, and we need to make sure that we do this. For me, this is the #1 vitamin for the menopause, calcium and vitamin D. Now, the whole world, let me just say 80–90% of the world has vitamin D deficiency. And so not to talk of a menopausal woman. And so vitamin D is critical for bone growth. And so please, it is very important that we take this every time. Now, we move into the sophisticated levels. Ginseng, black cohosh, wild yam, evening primrose oil, stuff like that. All those things are thought to be good. Try them, try one for 3 months and see whether it works, then try the other. All these things have sort of like anecdotal reviews about their effectiveness, which is excellent. Then optimize your weight, that's important. If you were overweight, before, honestly, best to, try and lose that weight, because it appears, like I say, with overweight, the flushes are worse. Increase your veg, you said that, vitamin D rich food, increase your water intake, start to drink water very, very well, so that your skin, you see, water is good for the skin. We're losing collagen at this point, and because of that, the skin tends to wrinkle. Now, what if I told you that a dehydrated plum is a prune? A dehydrated plum is a prune. Now, please write in the chat whether you want to be a prune or a plum. A dehydrated grape is a currant. Do you want to be a grape or a currant? I think most of us will want to be grapes and plums, because a plum is nice and smooth and has a very, very nice look, as opposed to a prune that looks very shriveled and old. So water is very good. Reduce your sugar, reduce alcohol and caffeine, and reduce your protein. That is the lifestyle change that needs to happen during menopause. Now, I like this woman. I can't remember her name, but this lady, it's never too late. This lady started exercising in her late 50s, and she's gone on to win so many awards for the weightlifting champion and all that. I think she was 89 last year or something like that, and she's still going strong. She still goes to the gym. Now, when we're going to do exercise, I'm not saying if we're going to do exercises, every woman who is in menopause must exercise. When we're going to do exercises, the most important exercises we do are bone strengthening exercises. So those type of exercises, when you lift weight, when you do press-ups, push-ups, that type of thing strengthens your bone and makes sure that your spine keeps straight as opposed to bent. So your greatest exercise is bone strengthening. The next one is cardiac exercises. Cardiac exercises are the aerobic ones, where you run, or you jump, or you skip, or you hop, or you swim. Anything that will increase your heart rate will keep your heart in shape. And I want to say this because a lot of our ladies towards menopause become hypertensive. When the person has hypertension, one of the best ways, take your tablets, but honestly, when you start to exercise, especially the cardiac exercises, you will find out that your heart will get stronger and you will need less medication. So that is something that we need to look at. Bone strengthening exercises, which are workouts, are very important. And you can do it at home. You don't have to go to the gym. You can do your jumping jacks, and your little weights here and there. You can even carry your water bottles. You can lean on your chair. You can be so creative with the exercise that you do. I like this little joke here. Getting into my shapewear is more of a workout than actually getting in shape. It's so interesting, isn't it? So limit your stress also. Those of us who like, those of you who like going to the spa, it's also a good thing to go to the spa and just relax sometimes. You know, just take it easy with menopause. Look, your body is having a hard time, let's be frank. And so the more you can take it easy with yourself, the better. Another lifestyle measure is laughing. Laugh your way through menopause. Just take it really, really lightly. Laugh, you know, laugh about your problems. You know, I have a group of sisters, we're classmates, and all of us we went through menopause around the same time. We always laughed together. We always just joked about, you know, the flushes and the flashes, you know, and it helped us because we had this little group and we just always used to laugh at ourselves. It was just a big joke, the fact that we were going through all these strange things. And we remember when we were teenagers, when we were going through menarche, you know, we all grew up together from the age of 11. So we went through puberty together, and now we're going through menopause together. So find somebody to laugh with, you know, and make sure that you laugh your way through the menopause and out of the menopause. So I'm going to go into some forms of treatments. Now, there are some alternatives to estrogen, which are called synthetic estrogens like ospemifene, which improve the symptom of vaginal atrophy without affecting the endometrium, which is the uterus. We have all this homeopathy and herbal treatments, which are called bioidentical hormones, which may offer some type of relief from symptoms of menopause. So all those are alternatives that the naturopaths use, the herbal doctors, they use all that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, you know, but I'm giving you all the alternatives so you know, there are lots of things to do. We also have this resource. I will send it to you somehow, which is monitoring your symptoms with the Free Balance app. Actually, if you Google Free Balance app, you will see that app, which you can get on your phone. I mean, people monitor their periods and their ovulation and all. So why not monitor your menopausal symptoms too? It really helps. It's a great app. I've looked at it and a few other resources which I can send to us. So I was talking about optimizing your weight. I have a book which I'm going to put on one of my social media handles. Well, I'll put it on it so you would see it. This really helped me. The fact that, you know, I lost weight, I lost about 50 pounds of weight, and that actually helped me through the menopause. And so you can also do it. You can lose weight and you can keep it off. So I have a book which I'll make available to you. Now I'm going to talk about hormone replacement therapy. I think this is one of the most controversial forms of therapy. I have been practicing for about 30 years now. At the beginning of my practice as a general practitioner, menopause was the in thing. Everybody took, HRT was the in thing. Everybody took HRT. And then after a while, they said, oh, after about 10, no, HRT causes cancer, causes this, it causes that. And so when people had menopause, they just had to suffer. That was it, just suffer. You have menopause, just go and suffer. And I too was telling people, you just go and suffer. There's nothing we can do about it, just suffer, you know, and all that. Drink water, exercise, lose weight, read my book. What can I do? Nothing more. But now we have come full circle, and there is a full body of evidence grounded in several thousand studies. They have 100,000 women studies, all these studies to say there are certain types of HRT that are safe. I'm going to go straight to the point. I'm not even going to waste time. The safest hormonal combination of HRT is not the tablets. The safest combination is with estrogen through the skin via a patch, a gel, or a spray, and something called micronized progesterone. Now, micronized progesterone is a bioidentical hormone. It is almost like the real progesterone. Now, let me just explain something to us. Estrogen is the hormone that makes us feel good. I remember when I was in my throes of menopause, I used to call God El Estrogen. El Estrogen, please help me. I need some estrogen in my body today. So estrogen is the feel-good hormone that helps with the heart, that helps with the bones, that helps with the body, that helps with the mood and all that goes down during the menopause. And it is the one that you can get right now via a patch, a gel, or a spray. The one that used to cause cancer was the estrogen tablet. That was the one, that one I will not prescribe to anybody. I'm not. No. So if you really want HRT, go to your GP and ask him for the one that you can get through your skin. Now, if you have vaginal atrophy, that is dry vagina, you also have the estrogen gel you can use just for that part. And people have sworn by it. Basically, it has been between life and night and day. Quality of life, everything was just affected positively. The micronized progesterone, let me explain what progesterone does. It helps to maintain the integrity of your uterus. So if you no longer have a uterus, like for instance, you've had an operation, you can just not use progesterone. All you will use is the estrogen. But if you still have a uterus, you will definitely have to have progesterone tablet because your uterus will overgrow. You will start to have bleeding and all sorts of other things can happen, which we don't want. So that is the safest combination. That is what I will advise. And so I'm going to now talk about the benefits versus the risks of HRT or hormone replacement therapy. Basically, the benefits are it helps with the symptoms and improves sleep and quality of life. Some women don't sleep because of these hot flushes, and then they have to go to a meeting in the morning or go to this and that, and it's just miserable. Their whole family is miserable. The children are miserable. It's just not great. So HRT helps with that. And it also promotes good bone health and reduces osteoporosis. Like I have said, every woman will lose their bone. But HRT helps to keep the bone. It also helps, it's not here, but HRT really helps with the heart. It helps the heart. It protects against problems with a heart attack and things like that. Now, what are the side effects or what are the risks? Now, there's no risk. Most of the risk, like I said, are with the tablet, estrogen tablet. Now, with regard to this one that you use on your skin, or patch, that type of thing, there's actually no risk of a blood clot or stroke if that is used. What of breast cancer? It is true, there's still a small risk. That is true. And if I give you the numbers, it is really small, but it is there. But it is the same risk as taking the pill. Women take the pill, they don't even think about it. And I don't know if I've heard of anyone who's had the pill. I mean, I'm quite still a small girl, in the medical field and all that, but I'm not sure I've heard of any woman who took the pill and had cancer and that type of thing. I'm not sure. It is a very, very tiny risk. It is also the same risk as taking 2 units of alcohol a day. It is less than the risk of being overweight or obese. That's taking HRT. I hope you know that obesity is the second commonest cause of cancer in the world now. And there's a small risk with ovarian cancer, that is true. But these risks versus the benefits, if a person is no longer living a life, they are just existing, is something that you have to think and see what, just weigh the risks versus the benefits. Speak to your GP or speak to your doctor, and we take it from there. Now, a few final considerations, because I know this might be questions. Testosterone. To treat with testosterone or not. Now, testosterone is one of the sex hormones that women produce, yet it is often overlooked. Women actually produce 3 times as much testosterone as estrogen before the menopause. Levels of testosterone gradually decline because of increasing age, or they reduce abruptly following, removal of the ovaries. The most common symptoms of insufficiency of testosterone include mood problems, unexplained fatigue, which some women have, change in sexual function, reduced libido, change in even your thinking. Some women think, what's wrong with their head? They are no longer sharp as they used to be. Bone loss and decreased muscle strength. So the conclusion is testosterone can help. Apart from HRT, it is something that is there. Not everybody prescribes it, but it actually can help women also. So it's something to think about. The other one is, can you get pregnant around the menopause? Big yes. When we talk of menopause, estrogen doesn't go down in one day. It takes many times. So there are times when you might be ovulating and you may not know. And so it's best to still use some form of contraception, which of course you can talk to your doctor about until you are well into your menopause. That is 1 year after your last menstrual period, 1 whole year. And then you say, okay, I've finished with that. Now, what does vaginal bleeding mean after the menopause? After 1 year, when you become postmenopausal, when you celebrate your 1 year after your last menstrual period, vaginal bleeding is a serious situation. And if that happens, you will definitely need to see your doctor, who will take you for a quick test, and hopefully all will be well. But I just want to advise us, if 1 year after your last menstrual period, you bleed again, you do need to see your doctor for that. And after that, I think is the last question, I think this is my last slide, is menopause an illness? Is there a cure? If it is not an illness, then it doesn't need a cure. But if it is an illness, it needs a cure. I don't know what you think. Perhaps you can put some of it on the chat. Is it really an illness? Is menopause an illness? I mean, I think when you are going through some of those symptoms, you think you are really ill, don't you? It feels like you are ill. Some people feel nauseated and vomit. They vomit. They are sick. They're nauseous. I know people who have started antidepressants because they actually fully got depressed. Some, went as far as developing high blood pressure and stuff like that. So is it on the chat? Is anybody writing anything on the chat? What's the general consensus? Is it an illness? Is it not? Is it an illness? Yes? No? Is menopause an illness? What do you think? Yes? Is there a cure? Now, yeah, let me think. This is what I think. So this is not in, okay, thanks for that. So this is what I think. When we went through menarche is we started our periods. What did you think? As far as I was concerned, that was the most abnormal thing ever. How can you bleed every month? What does that mean? And you tell me this is normal? But as time went, and then remember, children around the adolescent puberty, some of them go crazy. It is hormones also. So at the beginning of the hormonal journey, there's a little bit of craziness. And then at the end of the hormonal journey, there's a little bit of craziness too. Who says nobody ever hospitalizes anybody at that stage when they're going through their teenage rebellion, because everybody just thinks, well, I'm sure they'll get better or whatever. And so my thought is that menopause is not an illness. I think it is a natural stage of life. It is a cycle of life. And even the Bible says there's a time for everything. There's a time to live, there's a time to die, there's a time to sow, there's a time to reap, there's a time to cry, there's a time to rejoice. It is just the time. And so, whilst we're going through this time, let us actually make the best of it. Let us laugh our way through it. Let us, just rejoice our way through it, because it is that time when the hormones are reducing. But I won't say there's a cure, because it's not an illness. There are many ways to manage it. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. And guess what? There is life after menopause. Thank you very, very much. These are my Instagram handles. If you want to see my book on the Hurriam Slim again, you want to buy it, it's going for a very cheap rate right now. LinkedIn, that is my LinkedIn handle. The other thing I wanted to say is keep yourself natural. I have natural soaps. I have lots of things that I also make available to you. We're trying to go natural, trying to do everything natural, because that is probably the best way also to treat menopause, and take it very easy. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It was wonderful having you. I hope you gained at least one thing, from this little talk. God bless you, and over to Trudy.
Wow, Dr. Abby, what can I say? Thank you so much. Very interesting. You covered everything so well that quite a lot of the questions that came through, you have actually already answered. But there are some add-ons, if you don't mind, that I'm just going to quickly ask you if you can just explain a little bit further. So somebody was asking about the insomnia, which you covered with the HRT helping. But somebody asked a question regarding the HRT. Is it too late to take HRT if you are in post-menopause stage?
That is an excellent question. Excellent question. It is never too late to start HRT if you have the symptoms. Never too late. But by the time a person is 60 years old, the heart protective elements of HRT might be lost on the person. So if a person is going to take HRT and benefit from the protective, the heart, the cardio protect, I told you that HRT, the protection on the heart, on the bones, on the brain, at least those three things. The protective element on the heart is not as powerful. It will help with the massive symptoms of maybe depression, insomnia, especially flashes. My goodness, HRT is excellent for flashes. But like I say, those protective symptoms, especially for the heart, and even sometimes with osteoporosis, and I'm talking of thinning of the bones, is no longer as powerful. So like I say, anybody can start HRT at any age. But just to be aware that you need to keep yourself massively healthy. You can't rely on HRT to help you with your heart. And you really can't rely on HRT at the age of 60 to help you with your bones as such. And so you will need to continue fervently taking your calcium and your vitamin D and doing your bone strengthening exercises.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Abraham. The other thing, just coming on from that, you mentioned about keeping fit and everything else. You also mentioned about calcium and vitamin D being vital. Yes. So the question that was asked kind of on the off from that is, how much calcium, or what's the limit to the calcium that you can take? And also, I suppose from that point of view, what's the limit to vitamin D as well that you can take?
Well, I usually suggest that people take 1,000 micrograms of vitamin D. Well, unless you are severely deficient, well, so that's sort of like what I would say, take 1,000 micrograms of vitamin D. And if you are really deficient, your doctor can give you something higher. But just for maintenance of bones, of life, of the integrity of your, just even of your tissue, your cartilage, and stuff like that, that's 1,000. With regards to calcium, I think the recommended daily allowance is 400 micrograms. But as a menopausal woman, there's no reason why you shouldn't double that, honestly. Just take 2 tablets a day. That's what I would suggest.
Thank you very much for explaining that as well. I just have a couple more questions and then see if there's more time, if you've got more time. A question came through that says that, are there risks with IVF and taking HRT? And does that risk increase with the number of IVFs that you've had?
Is it? What does that mean? Is it that after you have had so many IVFs, should you be taking HRT?
That's right, yeah.
It's an interesting question. Because IVF has its own risks, which I think might have been explained to people who are taking IVF. When people have multiple IVFs, because of the hormonal manipulation, they tend to have the risk of clots.
Okay.
So I think that is obviously explained to everyone who does multiple IVFs.
Okay.
But with HRT, especially if they take, the gel one, the estrogen gel one, which you take through the skin, there is no risk. They don't have a higher risk than the general population. Let's leave it that way.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Another question related to that was asking, would the menopause be worse? Will the symptoms of menopause be worse if you've had IVF or multiple IVFs? Does it make the symptoms of menopause worse?
No. I think the symptoms of menopause would be worse if a person is a smoker, high level of alcohol intake, like I said, high level of caffeine intake, extremely thin or extremely overweight, and certain races. Yeah, those are the risk factors. So with regards to IVF, no.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously, there's manipulation of the, so I get the question because the ovaries are manipulated, isn't it? But they haven't removed the ovaries. You know, a person doesn't have okay, there's also, like I say, the induced menopause. When a person has ovarian, the ovaries are removed, the uterus is removed, or they have chemotherapy. People who have chemotherapy have, issues with early menopause, but not with HRT. So no, there is none.
Okay. Do we have time for 2 more questions?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the question was asked. You were saying that we need to reduce protein intake. So the question was asked. When you say the reduction of protein, does that include fish?
Well, if you have 8 pieces of fish a day, I should think you should reduce it really, because proteins have their own. The reason why is that proteins could also be high-calorie foods if you take a lot of proteins, and because of that, any high-calorie food, anything that is too high in calories there will be issues with menopause. There will be issues with especially with the flashes and things like that. It's not generally healthy. Fish is one of the best proteins, that's the truth. So if you have a moderate amount of fish, that's fine. I think the issue is mainly with things like beef, all those, sophisticated proteins like, the red meats, all those, what do you call those proteins again? All those red meat, well, any type of red meat, there are lots of issues around there with cholesterol and things like that. But white meats are not bad. But again, as long as you don't overdo it with the white meats, I think you should be fine.
Okay, thank you for that. I know I said this earlier, there were 2 more questions, but one question has come through that looks quite serious, actually. So I'm going to put 2 questions together and then ask you that one at the end, if it's okay, please. So one person's written down here that what if calcium supplements make you constipated? And also on the same calcium question, I suppose, they've also asked, I've just lost it now. They've also asked, miss 1 second. Okay, you can kindly please comment on the risk of taking calcium supplements with anti-hypertensives.
So what if calcium makes you constipated?
And what are the risks of taking calcium supplements with anti-hypertensives?
Hypertensives, okay. Now, calcium, the pharmaceutical industry use something called excipients for their medication. So excipients are sort of like the ingredients that they use. So there are different ingredients, excipients. Excipients are the things that put together the medication. And there are different types that they use for the same calcium. Okay. And so different manufacturers use different excipients. So it might be that manufacturer A his own calcium might make you constipated. It might not be the same as manufacturer B. And so my suggestion, because calcium is so critical, it's really critical, is that try different types of calcium. And if they don't work, then go to your GP or go to your doctor and ask them to actually get you one that doesn't cause constipation. And if they all still cause constipation, it is actually worth, it is so worth it to keep taking it that I would suggest then you move to high fiber foods that will make you go better, And that's really what I would suggest. But try a few different calcium supplements, from different manufacturers and see whether that would help. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what other alternatives there are for calcium, really. It is such a very lonely tablet. I'm not sure it really has alternatives. I'm not so sure. Yeah, I don't think so, It's calcium or calcium or calcium.
Okay. One of the
Yeah, so the other one,
yeah.
I'm not aware.
Okay.
I'm not aware. I know many people, many women, many women who use antihypertensives. And I'm not personally aware. I'm not saying it is not, but I'm not aware of an interaction between calcium and antihypertensives. I'm not aware. So please don't quote me. Again, speak to your doctor or go to WebMD interactions and put all those medications in the interactions tool and see what happens. But I'm not aware that calcium interacts with antihypertensives. I'm not aware of that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And the one that looked very serious to me says, why do you bleed more during menopause? The person's been having huge clots and bleeding excessively, actually passing the pad and clothes. She said she's constantly low on folate and iron.
Well, that's a medical situation. I wouldn't even want to comment on that, because if you are bleeding that much, you will need to see your doctor who needs to do a scan. I don't think that needs to be treated lightly. Yeah, so during menopause, women have all sorts of bleeds, but most of the bleeds are lighter, funny enough. So if you're having a heavy bleed around menopause, then that one needs to be seen, actually, because it could be something else. But if you have stopped menopause, that is 1 year after your last period, and you bleed, that is actually a gynecological emergency. I need to just say that, 1 year after your menopause and you bleed, your doctor will fast track you to see the gynecologist, because that could be serious. That one is really serious. But during menopause, it's okay, but still please see your doctor. Thank you.
Well, that remains to be said. There are other questions, but I'm aware of the time, and I'm aware that Dr. Abraham, you've given us so much, so much, more than I, and I'm sure from the comments, people even hoped to have gotten. So many of the questions they had, like I said, you had so eloquently explained and broken it down so beautifully, that people will be so equipped to know what to do next. I can't thank you enough for today. And if anything, by some things that have been sent to me, maybe people might want to repeat another time with a different side of things. But I cannot say thank you enough, Dr. Abraham. So thank you all for joining us. If you have more questions that I haven't been able to ask Dr. Abraham because of time, please do email me, put it in the chat, phone me, text me, those who know me, and I will pass those questions on and we'll try to get back to you with an answer. So thank you so much, Dr. Abraham.
Thank you.
I can't even clap enough.
Thank you,
my
everyone.
clapping just not going to be enough.
Thank you, my dear sister Trudy, for anchoring this. I really appreciate you. Like, you brought me out of my shell, so I must say thank you.
Well, if that's what's getting out of the shell by next time, we'll be. Yeah, thank you
no
so
worries.
much.
It will be
Bless
nice
you.
anytime.
Bless you. So thank you, ladies, that all joined. I can see, like I can see in the chats, and Dr. Abraham, everybody's saying thank you. I really do hope that you have gotten so much out of this. I know you have. I know you have. And I look forward to the next time that we do something similar. Dr. Abraham.
Thank
Hope
you
you'll
so
be available for
much.
that. Bless you. Bless you all.
So much.
Bless you
Bless
all.
you, Trudy. Bless
Thank
you, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, my doctor. That was really beautiful. I'm glad I have
All
you.
right. My jeeps.
I'm glad I have you to myself. Oh, soon.
My jeeps.
That was
Good to
fantastic.
see you.
So good to
Good
have
to see you.
you.
So someone said, can HRT help with weight gain and sugar cravings? I'm not sure of that question. I don't think so, you know.
Just let's read your book, How to Stay Slim.
HRT. That's a good one.
Yes.
No, it doesn't help with it doesn't help. Well, weight gain, no. It doesn't really help with weight gain and sugar cravings. No.
There's quite a few questions towards the end, actually.
Yeah.
But I was just looking at the time, thinking, okay. But like I said, most of the things really, you actually did cover. You actually did cover.
Thank God for that.
As I said, quite very insightful session, Dr. Abby. Now I can relax a bit. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Now I can relax a bit.
It was such so good.
Can laugh our way through menopause. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, my jeeps.
Hi, Abby.
Hiya, Trudy.
No, it's the other Abby.
Oh, the other Abby. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if she's still.
I'm still here. Hello,
Are you
Trudy.
still there? Okay. I pray you found that very, very helpful.
So helpful. It's very, very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for organizing this. And thank you,
Praise
Dr.
God.
Abbey. It's